before us. Coach Jay Johnson.
Good to see everybody again. Excited to start a new year. Just as Bill said, a couple reflection points. I think it was 56 days ago we won the national championship. Seems like yesterday. It's been very busy since then. We'll have appropriate time this fall to celebrate that team and its accomplishments. And as I've said before, it's a national championship team, which was our goal. But I also believe it will be regarded as one of the greatest teams in college baseball history. Not just the talent, but the consistency and approach, performance, and execution is something that you don't see hardly ever. And truly special team. Kind of where we went from there is we had the celebration on the Wednesday after we won. Thursday and Friday we had exit meetings with our players. Very proud to say we only had one player enter the transfer portal off of last year's team. So the collection of guys that could return decided that LSU was the best place for them to continue their career and will help us move ourselves forward as we get into 2024 as well. And then went right into a very busy month and a half relative to recruiting, finishing up this roster. Obviously, the transfer portal has changed the dynamic of how we do business. And then the MLB draft, which we were very successful with, only losing one of our incoming recruits to the draft, and which we think is a really talented, very smaller but talented class to add to those returners to get us off on a good note. And then the last couple days or week has been about reassembling a new coaching staff. Again, for the third year in a row, I think it's a sign of success that people want to get our people as part of their organization. Of the full-time assistants, the 4 that we've had here, 3 of them have become Power 5 head coaches within 1 year of being at LSU. I think that speaks to how people view LSU in terms of college baseball, and then the quality or the operation of our program right now, and I'm really excited. And as those guys get opportunities, the way I view it is it allows us opportunities to even further improve what we're doing here, and I believe we were able to do that, in bringing in Coach Yeski and Coach Rooney. So we've needed time and are still in the midst of getting ourselves fully organized to press forward and put forth the effort that it takes to be the program that we want to be in 2024. And so that's been very fast. Some information for you as far as fall dates. We'll be in 8-hour weeks or skill instruction and strength and conditioning from today. We'll start in on that until October 4th, which is a Wednesday, and then we'll start our 45-day fall practice window on October 5th, the weekend of fall break. We'll run that to, I believe, November 20th will be the third game of the Purple and Gold World Series. So the key dates in there, November 5th, we'll play at McNeese, and then November 12th, we'll play Louisiana Lafayette here at home. And then the following weekend, that last weekend, will be the Purple and Gold World Series. So really excited about that. Relative to remarks on the roster, and happy to answer questions after you've talked to these guys and they've answered questions. Excited about what we have. I think each year you get a better feel for what's needed to compete at a national championship level or at the top of the Southeastern Conference, because those are all one and the same. I mean, our league is running laps around the rest of college baseball in terms of where the best players, programs, and coaches are right now. So keeping pace, with that, it was a big effort. Obviously, great team, one of the best teams in college baseball history last year. You're only going to get to that point with not just talent with skill that has an enormous amount of experience, and that encapsulated our team last year. And at the same time, we're excited about what those experience will do to propel us forward. I think we have more freshmen at bats than just about any team in the SEC. Obviously, in the College World Series, you had freshmen pitching significant innings, Griffin Herring and Gavin Guidry. So we feel good about that part of it. I really like, what we've assembled. I think there's a blend of, there's a few guys that were key parts of that run on the position player side of it, and there's a grouping that were also key parts of that team at a point during the season where it's their time now to take a step forward. And as I mentioned earlier, players make their biggest jump usually in our program between year one or year two of us arriving or them arriving on campus. And we have several candidates for that, and I'm excited to dig into that next phase with the Brady Neals, Paxton Klings, Jared Jones of the world on the position side of it. And then we tried to supplement what we needed to do, obviously, with the high school class and the portal. We did not go crazy in terms of numbers of players that we signed in the high school class. I think we hit on 3 areas of need, bringing in 3 really good high school left-handed pitchers in terms of Cameron Johnson, Jake Brown, and Cade Anderson. Speaking about those guys a little bit, it was a big surprise, in terms of talent and actually showing up on a college campus with Cam Johnson. Right prior to the draft, it's 100 miles an hour at the combine and in the strike zone, with the breaking ball. When you see him, we're going to keep him away from Coach Kelly because he looks like he could play defensive end for the Tigers. So he won't be walking over to Tiger Stadium anytime soon, or to the football building. Jake Brown was the Gatorade Player of the Year in Louisiana. We will attempt to have him be a two-way player, predominantly viewed as a prospect, as a pitcher, but you're talking about a terrific athlete who was one of the best hitters, if not the best hitter in the state last year. We need to elevate the athleticism and the left-handedness of what we're doing, on the position player side of it. I think Jake can help us do that. And then Cade Anderson had Tommy John at the end of his junior year of high school, and it's my opinion, had that not happened, never want to see a player get hurt, but he might not be here right now in terms of where he was headed as a prospect. So feel great about those additions as freshman pitchers. In the infield, obviously with Jordan and Gavin moving on to professional baseball, we've got 3 high school shortstops that we really like that we signed. Stephen Milam from New Mexico, switch hitter, can play short, can play second. Feel really, really good about him and his potential ability to play early. He is a baseball player through and through, very heady player, and I think will adjust well to this level. And the competitiveness is off the charts, and that's what you need, to be successful early in your career here, because it's a steep challenge. Ryan Pacherik from Hamilton High School in Arizona, which is one of the best programs. It's in the handful of best high school programs in the country. Terrific athlete, 6'5", 60-yard dash runner, really good infield skills, some lightning in that bat, as all of these guys will need to do, just get stronger. And then Austin Rolig had a terrific summer in Utah. When I brought him here, he was one of the first players we committed. It's because we really believe he can play shortstop, and because he's a tick undersized, we believed that we would not lose him in the draft, and he's continued to play well, through his high school career and into the summer. And then a couple left-handed hitting outfielders with Derek Mitchell and then Ashton Larson, who was drafted in the 20th round. So want to keep that dynamic going. It was very valuable for us the last 2 years. And then the other transfer pitcher that we had signed was Fidel Iloa from Delta College, a really good arm that we evaluated last fall, and excited to see what he can do with Coach Yeski. Then assessing, the one thing I do like about the transfer portal is you have the ability to assess where you're at as a team, in the immediate of last year and where the needs might be, and to be able to fill gaps to compete at the level that we want to, which is an Omaha national championship caliber level. Our pitching staff really stepped up last year, and most of it was entirely new, outside of Ty Floyd. And so we wanted to, and Paul Skeens, obviously, we wanted to recreate that Paul Skeens stature herd model as best we could in the transfer portal this year. Getting Luke Holman from Alabama was a massive recruit for us. I think he was one of the 4 or 5 best pitchers in the SEC last year. as we prepared to face Alabama, and even though Luke didn't end up pitching, I remember walking down the hallway to Jamie Tutko, and I'm like, this guy's pretty good. Like, I mean, Chase Dollander, who was the 7th pick in the draft last year from Tennessee, I was like, that's kind of what this looks like to me right here. So really, really excited to add Luke. Gage Jump from UCLA was a very highly sought after prospect in high school, decided to come to college, turned out money. Once he went in the transfer portal, we had pursued him aggressively. He chose UCLA over Arizona, so there was a lot of history, with Gage and the initial recruiting part of it, which probably helped us have a little bit of an advantage, in that regard. Cade Woods, reliever from Alabama, Louisiana player, was very excited that we had interest once he went in the transfer portal. And then Justin Lohr from Xavier, lefty, tough angle, really good physical pitcher, competitor. Had a great season from a stat standpoint last year. Closed out the game against Vanderbilt in the NCAA tournament against them. I think all 4 of those guys will blend well with the returning pitchers that we have to form a really, really good pitching staff. I think that if you ask me on paper, I believe that will be the strength of our team in 2024. And then on the position player side of it, again, kind of looking down the microscope of what does it take to compete at the top of the Southeastern Conference. I really, really appreciate Jordan Thompson and what he did for us the last 2 years. I mean, him and Dylan Cruz were the only 2 players that started every game of 2022 and 2023. Having a veteran presence in the middle of the infield was going to be super important. Adding Michael Braswell from South Carolina, really like his skill set in terms of what he does. Played very well against us, and I think there's another tick in his game that we can get on the development horse, so to speak, and go get and help Michael be a really, really good player and pro prospect out of LSU. And then adding Mac Bingham out of the University of Arizona, really, really good addition. Had 92 hits last year, like around 360 with doubles power, home runs power. Completely thought he would get drafted. Massive surprise that he didn't. And then obviously having the history that we did of coaching him for 2 years, recruiting him. Once he was not going to go to professional baseball and kind of settled that he wasn't getting drafted or not going to sign a free agent deal. Obviously the previous relationship thing helped out there. I think he will add a presence that we will be missing from those guys last year when you talk about a Cade Beloso, Gavin Dugas, Braden Jobert, those guys that had those 2 years of playing for us and had that high leverage experience. That would be the thing that we need to work with this roster the most on is getting them towards those competitive and professional bats that help our team win. And then obviously there's a few more players on there. I certainly don't want to leave anybody out in this that we feel like will give us some quality depth, and really looking forward to developing the pieces right now. Nobody is a starter at this point in time. There's no bullpens. There's not a position on the field that you go like, hey, that's done, that's locked up, that's where that player is going to be. So excited about this roster, excited to get to work with them and reinvest in 2 things. And number one is I think it'll be important, and we'll talk way more about this as we get closer to the spring, but you want to emulate some of those positive qualities that have been built as a foundation over the last couple of years here in terms of how we roll, so to speak. And then there's an element of moving on and kind of forgetting 2023. We'll celebrate that at the appropriate times, and then it'll all be about this team. It's their time now to step to the forefront, and really excited to get to work with that. So I'll be back in a little bit.